Hello there and welcome to Laurence Plays Factorio Planetary Pioneers, the mod pack where we've added in lots and lots of extra planets, and we're on Nauvis. Yes, the original standard normal starter planet. We finally made it down here from Lignumis, which gave us a little bit of a boost in what we had to play with when we landed down here. So we've been playing that each time we go to a new planet, we'll take it in turns who's in charge of that one. So I started off being in charge of Lignumis, so I was setting people tasks to go off and do this, that and the other, to get the base set up, producing the science packs and allow us to escape. On this planet, we've got Mark in charge. So he came in and he put down some labels around the place. So over here, for example, we've got the main bus going off this way and then the production above the main bus. He wants us to have smelters down here, heading off over this way, and then wood production down here, steam power over here, and so on. So he's gone in and as we're getting started, he's put these labels in to give us a bit of an idea of where he wants us to build everything. So we don't have to ask him too many awkward questions. Being in charge has meant he spent most of the time sort of managing people rather than actually doing tasks himself. So he did a little bit of biter clearing and a little bit of sort of linking belts up when they were running most of the way but hadn't quite got there. That sort of thing, just the little tasks here and there. But largely he was mostly concentrating on dealing with us rather than dealing with the game itself. But that meant the rest of us could go off and do various useful things. So I went on a bit of a run when I first arrived, had a bit of an explore around the area we'd landed in, and the idea was to look for sort of bottlenecks and places where we'd be able to put a bit of a wall across and try and make the area safe. And so Tristan has now put in some walls up here to protect this bit and over here because, well, there were some nests up here at one point and we've got some extra mining, but I'll get to that later. Unfortunately, there weren't any really nice bottlenecks close by, so we've explored quite a big area. And sure, this isn't that big an area once we get going properly, but for early game it was quite large and it's not really, well, maybe we're in a sort of fairly upland area without any good lakes and good seas around, so we haven't been able to build a wall across a little land bridge to prevent the biters getting to us. So I think we'll be investigating a little bit further out later once we've got better technology. But for now, we're kind of having to try and push the biters back and protect our pollution cloud. And so far, we're doing pretty well with that, as you can see. There are some biters fairly close by, particularly these ones over here, and we're going to need to deal with them probably first thing next time. But at the moment, that's going quite well. Of course, the first important task is to get all of the resources up and running, so Mark was quick to send people out doing those. I was asked to get the wood up and running, so down here we've got, this is the, actually I have to admit I copied and pasted this wood production design from Mark's design on Lignumis, because, you know, it works, and copy pasting, blueprinting inside a single game I think is absolutely fine. I don't like to go into a game with blueprints that I've made previously, or even worse, that somebody else has made, but if it's inside the current game I think it's fine. So we've got the row of agricultural towers down here, and they're all being fed. So we've got the fuel for them, which is on this planet is coal instead of peat, and a load of seeds coming in, so they're able to plant out the trees. We're able to pull the trees up, turn them into wood, and pass that off along the belts here. I had added a second row because we needed quite a lot of wood at that point, and it was a lot less painful than it was on Lignumis because, yes, these things still cost 70 wood each to get them going, but we brought a load of them down with us, and a load of belts, and we had people faffing around waiting and then coming down a bit later because they had to rebuild stuff, and so they were able to then bring down more agricultural towers or more belts or more of whatever we reckoned we'd run out of from the established construction facilities up on Lignumis. And so I left this running. The limiting factor for quite a while was how quickly I was able to make the seeds, so I expanded the number of machines up here making them, and that worked pretty well, I think. And then Tristan reckoned we didn't have enough wood coming through, or rather we didn't have enough wood coming through, and Mark tasked Tristan with fixing it, so he came over and he doubled it again, so he's put in a third and fourth column over here. And that, well, if we look at the belt over here, that seems to be keeping up quite handily, at least at the moment. Now, granted, I don't think there's a great deal going on in the base at the moment, but wood is not the limiting factor right now, so that's going really well. Mark did set us up with the initial coal mine, so that's over here, and you can tell it's an early game one, or an initial one, because it's running with burner drills, and we've got the sort of loop back feeding the coal in at the top to keep them happy, keep them running, and inserters to feed it all through, and yeah, we've got a trickle of coal coming out of here, and it's better than nothing, and we would like to use up this patch with the remaining 139,000 in it. And we've used about half of it. You can tell by the marker here it had 284 when we found it, and now it's down to 139. So yeah, we've got about halfway through it, and it was it was useful to get us started. And you can see the belt systems running around here. It's a little bit spaghetti, but we've got one going off onto the bus. We've got one running down here to power the smelters down this way. Oh no, to power the tree growing down here, and also these smelters. Then we've got another one that comes through this way to power this mine, and comes down here to power these smelters, and so on and so on. So yeah, we were using the coal out of here, but then it turned out it wasn't enough. And so that meant we needed another supply of coal coming in. And so that was a job for me. I've got this rather long, what we call mark belt, because it's a very long belt and he's famous for them, running all the way up here, and then there's another mine up here. And by this point, as you can see, we had electric mining drills. But yes, we've got nearly a full belt coming out here. And perhaps if this was turned into a proper balancer one like this, let's actually do it like this, and with this one pointing downwards once we get some belts over here. We don't have robot ports yet. This isn't going to happen. But if we side balance this, because this side is stuttering and this one isn't full, maybe we'd be able to get a complete solid belt coming through. Maybe we wouldn't. We'd have to wait. We'll have to sort of wait and see and find out. But at the moment, we've got a decent amount of coal coming through, and it is keeping the factory pretty happy. Sphere put in some more initial mines as well, so he was responsible for the initial iron ore mine over here, a stone mine down over here, and the copper one up here. And he said in his comments from the video that he took my suggestion from the previous videos on board, and he's tightened this up a little bit. So instead of each one of these drills being in a 4x4 area, he's pulled the belts in slightly, so it's now in a 3x4 area. So we can fit a few more drills onto the patch, and that's a good thing. Now, okay, granted, the copper is not being used up at a particularly fast rate. It's going through at a. Is this one wooden belt? Yes, this is one wooden belt going through here, so that's 7.5 items per second. That's not much, but it apparently is enough for our current copper demands. Down here, the iron mine, though, that's not doing quite so well. That's had its belts upgraded and packed in there as tightly as we can. There's not enough coming out of here. Now, maybe we should be upgrading this to electric mining drills so we get a bit more out, but at this point, we're kind of happy just to leave this one running because it's there and it's working, so it's almost not worth upgrading it. And if we zoom out again, we can see here that we've only used about a third of this one. It started with 385 and is now down to 222. So it's getting through it, and eventually it'll run out. But at the moment, yeah, it's kind of fine, I guess. The stone mine, again, as I said, another sphere one, is very similar to the others. So very similar to the iron mine in that it's not producing remotely enough. And so there have been some buffs to these ones as well. We've got additional stone coming in from Iron, not sure where. Oh, over here, this stone patch. So this is being dug up from a nice healthy stone patch over here that has about 3 million left in it. And as you can see, we've got a solid yellow belt this time coming out of here. So that's twice as much, a whole 15 stone per second. Wow! And that's being fed down yet another really long belt and then going into the system over here to make sure we've got enough of that coming in. And also the iron is similar. There's an iron patch way off to the north up here where we've got actually nearly two belts coming out from here, and that's once again helping quite a lot in order to keep the factory supplied with the resources we need. It's still not enough, but it's helping a lot. And so, well, all of those ores needed something to be done with them. So I came in, I built up a smelting stack along here. I had to do the maths to work out how many furnaces I could run off a single belt coming in. But the nice thing is, once you've got this system working, you can then double it quite easily by turning this into a red belt along here and through the middle, and then turning all of these into steel smelters, because a red belt is twice as fast as a yellow belt, and a steel furnace is twice as fast as a stone furnace. So you can quite easily double your resources, at least once you get to the point of having the steel furnaces, and that's a very nice way of improving throughput. I would also need to improve the amount of iron ore that's coming in as well. That's quite important, but yeah, one step at a time. I put in exactly the same thing for the copper smelting up here. We also put in, I also put in a row of pulverizers like these ones for the iron smelting initially, because we know that we've got this bonus available if we use the ore crushing, because we can get out here, we can get a 20% chance of the additional product there, plus an additional 5% chance of it just not using the iron ore up. And I did the math for this last time, and it comes out to about 26% bonus. And also we can do research to increase this number further, which means it'll get better and better and better. And so once we start really using that, it'll be then very, very worth using the crushers. The problem is that we needed to do a research for that. It's either concrete and ore crushing or concrete ore crushing, and I'm not quite sure which way around that is. And I've just said the word ore too many times and spelled in too many different ways. So yeah, I'm not quite sure off the top of my head which of those it is. It's probably just one of them. But the point is, we didn't have that research done, and that's why we're going straight from ore to plates here. At some point, we will be doing some upgrades, which I believe Saphir has started doing over here. He's put in the furnaces over here. and now there's a bit more space available, so we could put in a pulverizing stack along here that would pulverize the iron ore down and then pass it round down here to go through to be cooked again, and then do the same with copper and so on, so we can get those lovely juicy 26% bonuses. Stone, on the other hand, we could pulverize. We had the technology for that. We understood the concept of putting stone into one of these pulverizers, and actually gold as well, although we didn't understand the concept of putting iron in, which is a little bit strange. But anyway, that enabled me to produce a large quantity of sand, which was then fed down here and cooked in another furnace stack in order to make glass, because we suddenly needed that on the bus above, and I'll show you why in a little while. While I was at it, while I was playing around with stone, I also added a belt here to take stone off onto the bus, and an additional one to cook stone into bricks, which is also taken off onto the bus. And so we've got a row of belts all here, all heading up. We've got wood and iron and glass and stone bricks, and then more iron. And Tristan was very upset with me because I didn't leave room for his second iron belt next to the first one, but oh well. And also now there's a steel belt as well, and the copper's going up a little bit further across, but they all go onto the bus in the same sort of way. So that's all working quite well, but as you can see by the way the iron is flowing steadily through, and we don't even have full belts here, we don't have enough iron. That is a continual problem, and one I'm hoping will be sorted out, at least partly, by putting in the pulverizing steps along here, and also by, you know, just going off and getting more iron mines. It wasn't really helped by putting in steel processing over here, so that's pulling in, well, quite a lot of the iron that would otherwise be being sent off onto the bus is coming down here to be made into steel. We seem to have enough steel at the moment, but we also seem to have a stockpiling system over here, which seems a little bit unnecessary, to be quite honest. I don't know why we're stockpiling steel over here rather than just sending it straight off to the bus and producing it on demand. But eventually I guess these will fill up. And I noticed something interesting here. Because of the hot metal mod we've got, all of these stacks along here, well, we put in some hot metal, and then it's cooled and turned into cold steel. And then, so it's had to put the next hot steel into the next stack, and then that's cooled, so it had to move on to the next one. So we've got all of these partly filled stacks along here, and then we've got an inserter here that can't put more hot steel in. So actually it's been limited to a much lower amount of steel than you would normally get in one of these chests. And that's quite weird and also quite interesting. So that's an unexpected side effect of the hot metals mod that I have noticed now and I'm intrigued by. So as I say, the next step is going to be to expand the processing down here, and also very much to expand the mine up here. I would have made this quite a lot bigger. I would have had four or five belts coming down from here. However, not enough mining drills had been made, so we're a bit limited. Now it does look like it's time to come up here and move two of them from the bottom here and stick them in up at the top, just to get a little bit more through. But also there's probably quite a lot more built and available by now, so it'd be possible to double or even triple the amount of iron ore that's coming out of here, and just get a lot more resource coming through, and just make things work better. Another one of my tasks was to get the steam power up and running, and this is, well, only partly my setup. So I came in, I set up the first one here, and it worked for a little while, and then suddenly we had power shortages. So I came in and sextupled it, put in another 5 of everything and multiplied it way out to about here. And then Sophia came in and, to be honest, did it properly, built it up to the size you see here, and this is big enough that if it's running at absolute full speed, it's capable of consuming an entire yellow belt of coal and producing 57.6 megawatts of power. So that's quite good. At the moment we're only using 13, so we can quadruple our power consumption before it starts to be a problem. So that's really good. We're in a good position here for power for the time being. However, if we do get to the point where we're using all of these generators to produce power, we're going to need a lot more coal coming in, because at the moment this belt is shared with quite a lot of other stuff, and yeah, if we follow it back, you can see it's one belt all the way back up to pretty much here, really, where it mixes the coal that's coming in out of the minings with the coal that's coming in from the other mine, and yeah, then that's split off 3 ways as well. So yeah, before we get our power consumption too much higher, we're going to need to put in a slightly better coal supply. But I think that's the same for everything. At some point we're going to need to make the supplies of everything significantly bigger. And that's a nice place to break the video, I think. I'm trying to do shorter videos that are a bit more focused on a single topic in the game. Next time, I'll talk about the bus setup we're using and how construction is going, so please make sure you're subscribed so you don't miss out on that. We'll be back on Monday for another Planetary Pioneers Stream 2, and my Wednesday night streams of The Last Starship are still going strong. I hope to see you around for all of those. Thank you very much for watching, and goodbye.